Okay, so like I said, a function is nothing but a logical piece of code which accepts the parameter, and it will perform the logic, and it will give you the output. So in terms of building application logic, okay, we need to write some functions. These are called user defined functions, and these are with respect to the business logic, with respect to a particular database. Okay, so type of functions, there are two type of functions, actually three, but we generally use two: scalar, inline, and tabular. Okay, then comes the next question: what is the difference between these three functions, or difference between three type of functions? Why do we need three type of functions? Okay, so for the scalar function, okay, it only, as we know that if we, for a function, if we give the input parameters, it should give the output. Okay, the scalar function is a very simple function. So if you give the input values, it must return at least one output. Okay, so scalar function returns the output. Okay, so what happens when you want more than one value? Okay, then, for example, if you want the results as a table, okay, if you want the results as a table, then the second type is called tabular function. Okay, the same logic, but it will return more rows. That is the difference. Okay, so this one can be used as a view when I'm talking about tabular function. So this one can be used as a view. View is nothing but a logical piece of select statement to make the display better for the people. Okay, suppose if they are non-business people, okay, and they want the two columns from HR table, two columns from a sales table, so it is hard for them to understand and write the join. So you write a piece of code which is called view, and you give them as a view. So this can be used as a view. Hold on, somebody is pinging. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Ignesh, we'll talk after the call. Okay. So that is the tabular function. It returns more than one value. Okay. So inline function, you can also use this as a subquery when you define the function, and you can use this as a join. That is called inline function. Okay. So now comes the question of what is the syntax of the function. Okay, like you guys have seen the store procedure. It is the same format. Okay, for every SQL object you define, it will be a create statement. Okay, so it's a create or alter. Okay, create function name. Then as I said, this function expects the input parameters. Okay, create function name, and the bracket opens, and the parameter name and the data type. Okay, I also said that it returns a data type. Okay, so we will have an example below, but this is just for you to understand syntax. Okay, so don't get confused. In a simple format, it's create function name, bracket open, parameter 1, parameter type, parameter 2, parameter type, returns. After returns, you will give the output you expect. Okay, return data type. Then after that, as begin end. So between the begin and end, you always write the SQL logic. And in the function, it will be mostly select. It will be the select statement. Okay, you cannot do insert delete with the function. Okay, it is not DML. The function is not used to manipulate the values in the table, or it cannot change the values in the table. Whereas store procedure, you can get the values, you can update in the table, you can do a lot of things. Okay, function limited functionality, takes the input values just as the select logic. It just reads the data and it sends back it to you. Okay. So this is that one is done. So now it is inline or table valued function. Okay. So basically the same syntax: create function, function name, and brackets open, parameter 1 and data type, parameter 2 data type. But instead of one single value, it returns table. Okay. So what is the table it returns? Okay, there is a return statement and the select statement. So whatever the select statement it is, it will return the results as a table. Okay. So I'm just here. I'm sorry. Somebody said hello. Anyone have any questions, or can I go ahead? Hello. Okay. So now, okay, so this is the function. Okay, so I already created a function. Okay, so when I create the function, okay, it will be like this. I change it for reason. So when you are creating the this is scalar function, example for scalar function. Okay, so how you are defining the function: create function. Okay, I'm saying dbo dot ufn. So there is a format people write as UDF or UFN for user defined function. Okay, so here my function name is get person name. Okay, bracket open, I'm declaring a parameter called id, okay, which is of the type int. Okay, and I'm saying returns varchar 40. Okay, so basically what it means is I'm giving a input parameter id as 1 2 3, any integer value. I'm expecting the return as varchar with a size of 40 characters. Okay, that's what these two lines mean. Okay, now I am declaring the logic of what it is. Okay, so here in this case, okay, so I am giving the id of the person. Okay, it is bringing me the full name of the person. Okay, so that is the basic purpose of writing this get sales or get person name function. So get person name function is when you give the id, employee id, or for example employee id. When you give the id of the person, it will bring the full name. Okay, for it, in order to achieve that, I have written a function, create function dbo user ufn get person name id int returns varchar as. So here I am declaring a person name just to store the value which I am getting. What is the value I am storing in the person name? Okay, I am getting first name plus space plus middle name space plus last name. So it is first name, a space, and middle name, space, and last name. From which table? Person dot person is the person table, and business entity ID is like the ID which matches with the person. So there is a link between the user defined function I am defining here and what I want to use below. So please understand this thing. Okay. So here I defined a function and I'm returning person name. So once it gets the value based on the ID I give, okay, it is storing in the person name, and person name is returned to the called function. Okay. So now if you see the second line of code, okay, so sales order header. Okay, sales order header in our AdventureWorks, sales order header is the table which contains the order number, order due date, ship date, and basically the order information, shipping date, shipping address ID, person, customer, salesperson who made this sale, and the total and the payment details. Okay, so this is the very important table in the AdventureWorks. It contains most of the order information. Okay, it contains all the segments of the order, customer, sales, payment, and everything. So here, if you look at what I have done, okay, so this sales order table, let me show you. Okay, so sales order header is here. Okay, if you see the left side pane which I am seeing the table, Like I said, it contains the sales order ID and order information. Okay. Here you see the customer ID is what of type integer. Okay. Likewise, you see this salesperson ID. Okay. So salesperson ID is also an integer. Okay. That means it is having a value of an integer. Okay. Okay. So with this function I have written above, what does this function do? When I give a integer as a value, it will give the full name as the output of the for that particular value. Okay. So here I'm actually getting the values from the sales order header table. Okay. So this is what is happening. Okay. So I'm getting the sales order details. Okay. From the for the order date. Okay, greater than July 2005 to sales happen before 2006 July 1st. So this is basically 1 year of data. Okay, I'm trying to get the details. Okay, so what happens here is, for every row here you can see that it is 2945 rows, so 2945 rows. So for every row it is getting the value. It is actually calling the function. Okay, and giving the input as customer ID and getting that as customer name. Okay. Likewise, here if you see, again it is using the function name. It is for every row it is taking the salesperson ID, which is an integer, and it is giving you an output of salesperson name. Okay. So let me execute this query. You can see, like here customer name is null. I think the value in this table itself is null. Okay, so no, there is some customer information. Okay, it looks like for most of the, let me put the customer ID as well so we know. Okay, let me run this query again. Okay, so this is the output I am getting. Okay, so that means, okay, so for every row it is calling the function twice. For the very first time, it is taking the integer value, okay, 29825, and it is trying to get the customer name from this table, which is the person.person table. Okay, so in the same first row, it is actually taking the salesperson ID 279, and it is getting the salesperson from the particular table. So in these two columns, one it is used as a customer ID, and one is used as a salesperson, because both of the columns here, customer ID and salesperson ID, are the integer columns, and they are coming from the same table, person.person. I have written a piece of code which I can use it for 2 times. Okay, I just have to call the function, and it will return the name. Okay, so I think you guys understand. So 2945 rows. For every row, for very first time it takes the customer ID and looks and gets the customer name. Okay, and for the salesperson ID, it takes that particular ID as an integer value, and it gives the person name as the salesperson ID. Okay, in some cases you have null values. That means for this particular ID, you don't have a customer. Okay, so now comes the question. Okay, so why I have to write this function? Okay, if I don't write the function, okay, number one, for getting the customer name and for getting the person ID, I have to write join 2 times. One on the customer, one for the getting the customer name, and one for getting the person ID. Okay, so I'm avoiding 2 joins here, and I'm writing a single piece of code. Okay, and I'm using it twice to get the details. Okay, so this is the beauty of writing a function. Okay, the same thing can be done without function, but I have to write from sales order header, inner join person.person, first join on the customer ID, second join on the salesperson ID to get the values. Okay? So I hope you guys understood what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now we are looking at tabular function. Tabular function is same as the scalar function. Only difference, we are just outputting the values more than one, and it is in the form of a table. Okay, so as per the syntax, it is create function. Okay, sales UFN, sales by store. Okay, what I'm trying to achieve here, I give a store ID and it will give me the sales details of that particular store. Okay, so as per the syntax, you create function, function name. Okay, parameter is store ID. So bracket open, store ID, int, bracket close. Okay, after returns, I'm returning the table. So I just said returns table. Okay, as return. After return, I'm writing the select statement. Okay, so this is a keyword. This you don't see this in the above example because you are defining one particular data type. So here, whatever is in the select statement, I'm just returning that as a table. So the purpose of this return is whatever the values you get after the bracket open and bracket close, you just have to return that in form of a table. Okay, so basically I'm writing a select statement, select product ID, product name, the total from the sales order detail and sales order header. Okay, so I'm grouping by product and product name. Basically it's a sales information of that particular store and the product information. Okay, so I executed this function already, but let me try. I am not sure if I executed this on this particular computer. So there is already an object. So I think I already executed here. Okay, so now, okay, so in order to get the sales by store, I have to say select star from. Okay, so what is the function I have defined? It is sales. Okay, so this is my function. Okay, and what is the store ID? For example, let me give this as a store ID. Okay, so basically, because this is a tabular function, it just returns the value as a table. Okay, so select star from sales. So this is as you can see, these are all the sales with respect to that particular store ID. Okay, for store ID 602. Okay, so these are all the product names and the total. Okay, you can also add the order number, order details, customer who bought this by actually adding more columns here. Okay, but for now you just have to understand the tabular function. In the above example, you returned a single data type, which is the person name. In here you are returning the product details and the total for that particular product. Okay, so this is the scalar and tabular function. Okay, now the question is, okay, so why there are two things? Okay, store procedure and function. Okay, so store procedure is also getting values, function is also getting values, but why do we need to achieve the same purpose? In reality, there are two different things. Okay, what are the difference between store procedure and function? This is a damn sure interview question. Okay, there is a difference between implementation of these two things. Okay, so people use function for different purpose and store procedure for different purpose. So difference between store procedure and function, let us see what they are. Okay, so this is a very important interview question. Okay, so here I have outlined 7 key differences. Okay, so like I said, what is a store procedure? In store procedure, for example, you create a store procedure and have three select statements. Okay, I will see three result sets of information. Okay, so in function you just have one value, or you will see one table value. Okay, so first difference. Okay, so for my store procedure, okay, if my select statement doesn't match, okay, or if the where condition is not suffice, okay, it will just return no records. Okay, but for function it has to return at least one value. Okay, in the table case also it has to return at least one value. Okay, store procedure can be used in a select statement. Oh, sorry, function can be used in a select statement. Store procedure is not. Okay, in order to execute a store procedure, you will always write execute store procedure name. Okay, you cannot write select star from dbo dot function. Like here in this example, you have seen that, you know, in the select statement in the above example. Okay, what is that second difference I'm talking is here. If you can see, I am using this dbo.ufn get person name in the select statement. Okay, and this is outputting the value as a column. Okay, and here I am using it again for a different purpose by giving the salesperson ID, and I am getting the value as a salesperson name. Okay, so I can use function with the select statement, but store procedure you cannot write select star from execute store procedure. So that is what it is basically saying. Okay, so the function can be used in the select statement. Store procedure cannot be used in select statement. Okay, store procedure you can use it in the store procedure. In the definition of the store procedure, you can use DML operations. What are DML operations? Insert, update, delete. Okay, in the function you cannot do it. You can just write the select statement, so it will return either one value or return the values as a table in a tabular function. That is the third difference. Okay, so here the fourth difference. Okay, I'm not sure if Sandeep covered this, but in the store procedure, okay, in the syntax of the store procedure, you can also give output, and you can catch the output, or you can get the output of a store procedure if assigned to that output variable. Whereas in function, you cannot do so. Okay, you can only give the input, and you can say return table. It just returns a table. But in the store procedure, you can define the output parameter. Okay, so the fifth difference. Okay, so functions can be called from store procedure. So if I'm writing a store procedure, okay, in the business logic of the store procedure, when I'm writing, select statement or insert statement, I can use a function there. Okay, for example, in our previous case, I can just say this as I can just say the above example. Where is it? Okay, so here I am getting the function person name, right? So I can just make this a procedure. Okay, create this is an example, so I'm just saying it as one. Okay, or I can just say details. Okay, sales details. Okay, so let me write this as sales test. Okay, so I'm creating a store procedure here. Okay, in the store procedure I am using a function in the select statement. Okay, so I can just say, execute dbo.sales test. Okay, you can also give variables start date and end date, and you can say this as @start and order date less than end date. Okay, so you can parameterize it, but this is just the basic stored procedure I am writing. Just to show you an example that in the stored procedure you can use the function, but the vice versa is not correct or not true. In the function you cannot say execute stored procedure. That's what I want to say. Okay, so you can see when I executed the stored procedure, I'm using the function inside and I'm getting the values. You cannot do otherwise. So that is the fifth point. Okay. So what are the sixth, seventh points? Okay, sixth, seventh differences are mainly talking about the transactions. Okay, I'm not sure if Sandeep covered the transactions, but I think it will come in the next section. Okay, transaction is nothing but a single piece of code. Okay, for example, the best example is the bank. Okay, you are depositing or you are depositing money into your friend's account. Okay, so what happens? You walk into the bank, you insert the card, you want to say $500 transfer to my friend. That is, you give him his account number. Okay, so the money has to be taken off from your account and it has to be inserted into his account. And for some reason, there is a problem while doing this transaction. Okay, so ideally what it should happen is, okay, it should recover itself. Okay, that is point number one. When I say recover itself, that means the transaction should be complete. That means after the problem also 500 should be taken off from your account. It should be added into your friend's account. Okay, that is the correct state of the transaction. If it fails, okay, if they are not able to recover the or solve the problem for whatever reason, then the next best case is they have taken the $500 from you, they have to put it back. Okay, the worst case is, you know, money is taken off from your account and it is not with your friend, it is with your bank. That is the worst condition. So in order to avoid this kind of situations, okay, there will be so many applications which require, you know, either they execute as a bunch or they should fail as a bunch. Okay, so they will be in the situation one, in the scenario one, or in the scenario two. Okay, if it is scenario two, you have your $500 back and they will do the transaction again. So next time it doesn't have any problem, it succeeds. Okay, so in order to be consistent with the system, okay, they execute the bunch of code. First one is minus 500 from your account, second one is adding 500 to your account. They execute the bunch of code together. Okay, so as a single logical unit of code, that is called transaction. So in the transaction, okay, so it is either commit transaction, rollback transaction, and there is intermediate something called save point. Short story sweet. Okay, I don't want to confuse you, but in the stored procedure, transactions are possible. Okay, when you write transactions, you write try and catch block. What is this try and catch block? If a problem arises, go to the catch. You place a piece of code in the try. So whenever you are trying to perform this logic, some problem happens, then you go to the catch. In the catch, you will say raise error and revert back. Okay, these things are only possible in the store procedure. They are not possible in the function. Okay, these are the 6 and 7 differences. Point number 6 and 7 is talking about try, catch, and transaction. Because you cannot write transactions in the functions, there is no point you can write try and catch. Okay, try and catch and the commit transaction, rollback transaction will be hand in hand. Okay, so you implement one on top of other for the better controllability of the code. Okay, so these are the key differences. This is very important. You can have a glance for a few minutes, and then we'll conclude the class.
Dilip, can I ask a question?
Yes, who is this?
Vinay.
Yeah.
Are these recordings that you are doing, right? Are they saved somewhere that we can see them, or maybe replay them later, or uh, if we want to revise or something?
Yes, hold on. Let me stop the recording first.